evening and welcome to Inception Podcasts. And this evening, well, it's afternoon here in the UK. I have a wonderful conversation coming up with, introduce yourself, my lovely.
Craig Campobasso, and I'm happy to say the name because everyone destroys it because they're like, I can say it like 5 times to somebody. They're so funny. It's so funny because the other day, a guy, I was doing a radio show, he could not say my last name. He got so mad at himself. And I said, think of it like an Italian last name, Campobasso. And then finally, so he said, okay, I'm going to start again. So everyone, today we have Chris Campobasso. I'm like, nope, Craig Campobasso. He's like, oh my God.
I used my womanly, traits. Gave it back to you. Okay,
it's fine.
This is, as I state every time on the podcast, this is so not an interview. It's a conversation between two conscious beings. But before I go, I would like to inform our audience that my podcast, Inception, is now on the Forbidden Knowledge News Network. Chris has got me advertising, trust me. There are amazing podcasts there which are inspiring and informational. We have Forbidden Knowledge News, Beyond Classified, Day Zero, Dawson Files, Raised by Giants, and Moi, Inception. As you can see, I'm useless, guys. You know this by now with auto cues. I'm better if I just chat my stuff. So on that note, Craig, welcome to Inception Podcast, where we're just going to have a conversation. Your Zoom room to my Zoom room.
Zoom room, right.
Zoom to Zoom, darling. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be lighthearted, and we're going to go down the rabbit hole. And audience, I'm telling you, Craig is going to take us down the rabbit hole for sure. So yes. You may want to watch this podcast 2, 3, 4, or 5 times. So I'm going to kick it off, Craig. Are you ready?
Yes.
I'm going to open the first door and ask you, from your truth, your perception, what is the human experience?
Well, as I have gone through my entire spiritual awakening over many, many years, it began at age 26. Before 26, I just existed and did a daily life. But now I understand that we are all beings throughout the universe, and we go from planet to planet and we learn. Every planet is a school. Here, this planet, what we're really learning is duality. We're learning how to hone in our emotions. We're learning how to work from our heart to merge it with our mind so that we can become fully conscious. Mm-hmm. Even though we may have been fully conscious beings before we got here, this is a whole new experience for us. Then when we graduate this sphere, I look at it like this from all my guides. We go back to the University of Melchizedek, which is 490 university planets. We can stay and learn more there, and then we can decide, do we want to take on other lifetimes on other spheres, maybe to become a scientist or to explore other things. Those worlds, the lifespans may be 3,000 to 5,000 years. They could be 10,000 years. It's a long lifespan that will allow you to glean everything that you need to learn for your soul in that period of time. Here, I believe we come in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, and become every race, creed, color, religion, so that we understand the whole of everybody that's on planet Earth. So that's my human experience.
That's a big wow, and I resonate 150% on that. That was eloquently put. I wish I could speak the way you do. I may have to rewatch this and then plagiarize your words.
You can. You may.
Oh, thank you so much. That was beautiful, and I resonate with everything you said. Okay, so now we're going down the rabbit hole now. So the next door we're going to open, I'm going to ask you, for you to ask yourself, who am I at my true essence, my true source? Who am I?
Well, my true source is been around a very, very long time, through a long lineage throughout this universe. There was a period of time where I was able to see all of my Earth lifetimes and extraterrestrial lifetimes, and it was explained to me later by my guides that this was a merging of selves that were going to be a part of what I would also do through my writing, through filmmaking, to give to the people of Earth as well. So I look at myself as a singular being, but that is connected to the whole, so that we can all work together and prosper and do those kinds of things. And ever since I really started getting that many, many years ago, I really only attract like-minded people to work with. So I'm always in a loving environment. Now, I work in the film business, so once in a while, there's one of those little crafty ones that, sneaks through. But I look at it as a challenge. I say, this is my challenge to overcome all of this horrific adversity that is going on the set, and to understand where it's coming from, so that in future productions that you work on, that you'll know exactly how you should bring them even into a better light than previously. So yeah,
that is another absolutely. I'm just smiling, guys, because I'm just reading and just feeling this energy. So I'm just sitting here smiling. Who is hardly just a few questions. Just let Craig talk. On that part, you say it so beautifully and eloquently, as it should be me being the female human here. However, my expression of what you've just said is, I am a conscious being having divine consciousness, or you can call it spirit, soul, Christ consciousness, God consciousness, having a human experience. And this human experience is the accumulation of all experiences, all timelines coming as one into the now. And like the deconstruction of I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. Drop my beliefs, my ideologies, my concepts. What was true is not true. What was false is true. And working on myself through that, which has been, it's been a, people do say the dark night of the soul. I've had decades of the dark night of the soul, and the crying and the working and facing my reflection. Like you said, if someone comes in, I call them negative Nellies. My reaction to them, it's not them, it's me.
That's right.
Yeah, do I need to?
Right.
So I see that as an accumulation that eventually coming back into the one and being consciously aware that this is so. Does that resonate with what you've just stated?
It does, and I learned something really early on, and somebody said to me, you can either learn through pain or you can learn through joy.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me for the rest of my life. I always would like, when I share this information with people, what my guides had shown me over the years is, in the universe, we have a cosmic heart, and we have the cosmic consciousness, right? So we all have access to that. So if you imagine the cosmic consciousness as a beautiful orb of light, you can, through meditation, when you've gotten yourself centered, and you know, if you are really a person into meditation, if you get the dove in your third eye when your eyes are closed, it means you have attained that consciousness, right? The perfect level of connection to source, right? I've had it a few times, right? But so what I do is when I feel I've reached that state, I will go to the cosmic consciousness, the orb of souls, of all souls who have played all the parts in the universe, and I ask for help and assistance in a situation I'm dealing with anything. Those energies will come forward, and they will, you will either receive the answer through thought, transference. You may receive it in a download in the future weeks. You may receive it in many different ways. If you are somebody who is feeling very low and not in loving of yourself, you can also go to the cosmic heart and do the same meditation and say, I need to be wrapped in a cocoon of your universal love. Now, the beings out in the universe, the fully conscious beings, people are more important than anything else. So in their daily lives, when they are interacting with each other, they always give a greeting of hello. They always acknowledge everyone. They also have a very big sense of ESP. So if someone is feeling down, sometimes many who are around will go and just cocoon them in an embrace so that they can work through it, and they may talk to them to help them work through it. Because no matter what their job is, that person is more important, because up there you do every job. You switch out. You switch out jobs every 3 to 6 months so that everybody learns how to do everything up there. So I just like to give that to people, because sometimes people feel so alone.
I know.
And they have they start getting down on thoughts with themselves, and those thoughts become heavy. And the only way to release those thoughts is, first go for a walking meditation, get outside, do something, start to break up the energy. I say another exercise I use is to put a giant oval magnet above your head. And in meditation, you turn that magnet on, you ask it to pull up all negativity that is in and around your body, that is either from your own self, from other people's thoughts, projections, things like that. And then you surround that magnet with green light for healing, pink light for love, purple light for transformation, and then around that put silver for Mother God and gold for Father God, and allow it to go up and be transformed. You don't want that energy hanging around in your house, right? So you want to definitely transform it. So those are the things that I do. By the way, if you're having a very stressed day, you can sit down for 5 minutes, do that magnet, and you are literally going to feel like $1 million at the end of 5 minutes.
Thank you. That was a beautiful, profound message. So guys watching this, take anyone you choose. I mean, these are amazing. I've heard of a few of them before, and I so resonate with it. I used to do a lot of that before, I must admit. I'd go into the now space, so it's a very similar. I don't meditate per se. I've never been a meditator, so to speak. I'm like too energized. However, I can go into the silence for some reason.
Perfect.
Just go into the silence, and from my experience, as it's matured, my consciousness has matured, and my understanding is, like I said to you off camera before, I just say, help me guys, or boom, and it just comes in. It's just there. Any answer or what I need to know. So I don't have to this is for when you have problems, you think you have problems. If you just open up to the universe, it just comes in, it's resolved.
Right.
And energy just shifts, it just goes. So it's very, very similar. I love looking at because we're all experiencing the same thing. However, as individual conscious beings, we're experiencing it slightly different, which is the beauty and the diversity of this 3D Homo sapien experience. And I love the way that you articulate that. That was beautiful. Right, we're going to door 3 now. So now we're right down the rabbit hole. We get the coffee on, get the camp beds out, okay? From your truth, from your perspective, and I'm coming from the backdrop of quantum physics here as well. What is this 3D reality? We know who we are, me and Craig. We know who we are. We got a rough idea why we're here, what we're doing. Now tell us, many people say it's a matrix, it's a simulation, blah, 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 blah. I have my own analogy, and every analogy is true and perfect, but my expression of it, it's there's 2 major ones. One, it's a dream, and I'm in a lucid dream, and I'm the observer, so I don't get too connected to it. And the other analogy I use depends who I'm talking with in a group. I'm in a film, I'm watching the film, but I'm a character in the film, but I am the observer. So that's how, if they want to go down the quantum physics and superposition, that's a different scenario. So that's my analogy to kick this off. So from you, your truth, what is this reality we're in?
Well, there are many people who have passed on, and then they came right back to give one more message. They were clinically dead. They popped in and they said to their loved one, "Oh my God, this is all a lie."
Yes.
Right? This is all a lie.
I'm so glad you said that.
And then they were so happy to go back to the realm where we really are from. Right? Which goes up into others. So again, what I said to begin with, the orb just went right through. They like that one. I got the chills when I saw that orb. So, yeah, and the thing, it goes back to this physical reality is a school. Is preparing us for that greater reality, which is in the next dimension. And then there are dimensions that go after those dimensions as well. Then we move into the celestial realm, and then we move into our own deityship, is one that I believe, because all souls, since we all came from the one primordial atom, and I've studied a lot of extraterrestrial races, and the large consensus is that we are all the same because we all came from the one primordial atom, but some of us have had a little more schooling than others. Right? So in a bigger scheme, they all treat each other equal, except for the ones that are not in the full consciousness, because they're still learning. And then and so what happens is they just oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought. But anyway, so that's...
Stop watching the orbs. I did warn you.
I know. It's like, woo.
I know, I did warn you. They're going to come in. You mustn't get your focus off the orbs. And
I know. We'll blame it on the orb.
Oh, right, so, you've got these angelic beings here, and you're just going to...
Oh, gosh, yes.
Can I call you back? Hold on, Craig. Hold on.
Yeah.
So, I got really excited when you turned round, because and said that they've come back and said this is a lie. Now, I have held back that terminology for a while, and the only person I've ever heard speak such is one of my mentors who's passed, is Alan Watts, and I would listen to him talk, and the way he would talk, and I really understood it. oh, it's a lie, it's not true, it's not real. But it was in a joyous, when you say lie, I don't mean in a negative connotation.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was a joyous, funny joke, like, this is a cosmic joke, wake the fudge up. That sort of,
That's
you're the
right.
first person I've heard say it.
That's right. And I was dear friends with Sylvia Brown, who wrote a million books. And Sylvia always said in her wonderful gravelly voice, "This is hell.
Yes.
That is heaven."
Yes.
Right? She goes, "You're in hell." As a joke, meaning this is the lie, and that is the real truth. That is the real reality. And, I mean, so much information came through that wonderful woman. She wrote 65 books in her lifetime.
I haven't even wrote one yet. I keep getting
told. Temples on the Other Side, you would love. You would love that book.
You'll have to message me them, and then I'll get them up on my
Yeah.
I want to stay in the reality for the moment, because it's really exciting here. I want to come back to, well, you said that, this is a lie, and I want to go a bit deeper on that one. So from your truth, no pressure, Craig, putting you on the spot, can you give a hint to anyone who's really interested in this conversation, and to expand their own consciousness, to find their own truth of who they are? Can you give any way, I don't want to say teaching, because I don't like that word either. I'm throwing out a lot of words recently, and I don't know how to explain it, of how to find out this statement, it is a lie. Show me a way. For example, if one of the audience said to you, Craig, show me a way how I can find out this is a lie, could you give something to say, well, why don't you try this, or this way?
Sure.
Or have you got anything for us there?
Yeah, absolutely. Just went blank again. Man, it was right there, and it was so beautiful.
You're watching the orbs again.
I know. It'll come back to me. It always does, because it was really, really good too. So ask me the question again, and let's see if it triggers it.
Oh, Craig, when I don't remember.
It was asking about
okay,
the lie.
Ask the audience. Oh, okay. When we talked about, you said, from people that had near-death experiences and people that have come back, and you said, this is a lie, this reality, because I asked you what is reality, is a lie. And then I jumped in all excited saying, that's my truth. And the only other person I'd heard it from was Alan Watts. And I mean, lie as in, it's a joke, it's a cosmic joke, it's a play, we're having fun, wake up to it. But then I asked you, for anyone in the audience who would like to go deeper on that area, they say, well, how can I do that? How can I find out? They're going to come from left brain consciousness. Obviously, it doesn't matter. How can I find out it's a lie?
Okay, that was good. It just all triggered back, and I wrote it down so it wouldn't blank out again. Sometimes I think your guides do that on purpose, because they want you to refocus or something like that. So again, in spirituality, where we're in duality, we blame others for everything that happens. And when we really come face to face with our own soul and realize that we're responsible, we realize that we only judge ourselves, and that everybody, of course, is a mirror. That is just 101 spirituality. Yeah. So again, it boils down to the individual and how much they want to learn. So if you want to learn, then you have to work on yourself spiritually. And that means by listening to lectures or listening to other things, like if you want to go explore religions, not necessarily joining, but listening to different things. Or if you want to go hear like Marianne Williamson talk about the Course in Miracles. I used to go listen to her talk here like every week. She did big lectures, and I would leave there feeling grateful.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my God, my little problems are so small compared to all of the people who were pouring their pain out in that thing, right? So I always left grateful. And so really it's to just work on yourself. And every time something comes up that you get angry about or you start to blame about, is to not react, to learn to de-react yourself, and to allow some time for you to examine why you're feeling that way. And then I usually will go into some kind of meditation and say, why am I feeling like this? What is in my psyche? What is making me react this way? And then when I feel that I am in a proper space to have a true conversation with the other person, I will do it. That interaction right there makes your spirit grow.
Love it.
You get more spiritual sustenance, right? Now you can also ask your guides for assistance. You can also especially ask your ancestral lineage on the other side, and I'll tell you why. They are more connected to you than your guides. You are a part of their soul group. So we come in and we are all in a soul group. Some are more on the inner part of the group, some expand out and out and out and out, and some of us come in and out of each other's life. But we are in that group, and it is our consciousness that helps to raise that group so that we can all graduate off the planet and go into the next experience.
I can't wait till I graduate. I must.
Right.
I've got to say, I'm sure I have graduated. No, that was beautiful. That really was beautiful, and I jumped in there because something come in to state is that I think we've already done it. In my reality, it's already done anyway. We're just experiencing it, but it's done. If that makes sense.
It is, and many people have already done this, and they are star seeds who come in, and they're here to help raise a consciousness. Like this is my first book, right? The Autobiography of an Extraterrestrial, Saga, I Am Tehran. He's a Pleiadian man, and he actually is a professor at the University of Melchizedek. His job is to teach the beings from all over the universe who have volunteered their time for incarnation cycles to raise their vibration on Earth. He teaches them about what to expect, what their mission will be, what their timeline of raising consciousness will be. And he also teaches the mighty messengers who have already had every lifetime here, but they will be coming in to into Earth with a mass thing to raise consciousness. That will be a part of what theirs are. Now, everybody up in the universe in these worlds are all fully conscious, right, as a part of this, but he was born dualistic. There's an anomaly of every 200,000 beings born, and this is the reason that the fully conscious beings need a reminder of what a dualistic being is, and a dualistic being has at their access fully conscious beings to work through their things. So throughout the course of the 4-book series, you learn how Tehran attains his full consciousness, which is how the same that the reader can attain it as well.
Beautiful. Now, I am going to plug his books, not at the moment, and I am going to get Craig on to my Open Minds show. But that actually, the statement I made, I jumped in there because it was like I had to say it, is I told you prior to the recording that something had shifted and I have become aware of something. And it just came out in the podcast that I'm aware. I've said it a few times, but more with more knowing. I've done it already. I know I've done it already, and I'm deja vuing for others.
Yes.
I've already done
Yes.
it. I've done it, because people have said to me, well, why aren't you, fearful and negative and look what's going on? And I said, it's nothing. I'm fully aware. I've done it. We did it. To give them hope. We've already done it. So that's where I come from. And then, I was honest with you up front. I'd never really heard of you before.
Right.
Because
right.
I'm just a little old lady in an English village, all by her big self. But when I heard your name mentioned by Tiffany Mack, the vibration, I knew you by vibration. That was the first thing. You've just validated something that do you see how it works?
See, it is. It definitely works that way. And
brilliant. It's brilliant.
It really and truly is. And a lot of people that are on their path, right, and are learning either at the beginning, the middle, or towards the end, if they're older in life, we never stop learning. It just keeps on going. I even had a second spiritual awakening in 2014. I only thought you could have one.
No, there's multiple.
Yes, there's multiple. So I know that sharing these experiences for the experiencers is very, very important.
Absolutely,
because they will be having the same experiences and then can understand them, so that it helps their energy acclimate to the energy, so that their consciousness and their vibration rises.
I would add on to that, coming from my truth, another thing occurs that I'm aware of is, like, the conversations like these needs to be had, because as we're coming from consciousness, you've got the Homo sapiens sapien, the juxtaposition, you've got Homo sapiens sapien, you've got consciousness. So Homo sapiens sapien can use the law of attraction to a certain degree. But if you're coming from the consciousness conversation, as we talk about this, we are manifesting it. It's even though it's already done, it's already done. We know. Well, I know it's already done. It's really weird in my brain at the moment. But we're manifesting it by having the conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
Having these conversations, talking about consciousness. So what we're doing, you could say we're spiritualizing matter, or we're shifting out of 3D Newtonian matter, or whatever you want to call it. But we are now manifesting. The more that we experiencers talk to each other, we are manifesting. And also, I've got to add on that about this reality, what we're in. Have you found, because I found I am synchronistically being connected to other experiences I never knew existed. And when we connect, it's like, I know you.
Exactly.
Know you.
Exactly.
You get that too?
All the time. And it will continue to happen as you allow your spiritual sustenance to escalate.
It's beautiful.
Right? It really is. Yeah.
God, you're amazing.
Oh.
To have. I'm telling you. Right. Now we're going to the next door. From your truth, Craig, we've done us and our reality and the experience. What is ET? Now, ET is just an umbrella name for the lot.
Sure.
The paranormal. Right. The paranormal.
Sure. Sure. So the universe is even bigger than anybody could probably ever imagine. Earth is supposedly at the edge of this universe. So if you were to travel beyond Earth where there are no planets, you would just boomerang back and you would be there. That's the part of contracting and expanding the universe. Doesn't mean that at a certain point in time, way in the future, that other planets might be forming or also be out there. So extraterrestrials are just different life forms. It is said that the human life forms began in Lyra or Lyra, and that then the reptilian race, where nobody seems to know where they came from. Some people believe they were dropped in this universe to get rid of them in another universe.
Okay.
Some believe, and some reptilian experiencers believe that they were there before, and this kind of thing, that they came and they wanted their resources and things like that. There became a war. So a lot of those Lyrans went off and they settled in Vega.
Mhm.
Then they went to the Pleiades. They went farther out into Sirius and different things of that nature. My big question always has been, how then do we get all the skin colors and all of the different things? Because up there really are blue, violet, yellow, red.
We're boring, aren't we? We're very boring.
We just have sort of the basic colors here: white, black, brown, red, and yellow, right? But out there's all that. There are patterns.
Beautiful.
Some are patterned beautifully.
Yeah.
So really what happens is when an extraterrestrial race becomes very advanced, or if it's even a negative race and they're just super smart and they've obtained this information, they become the tech gods of hybridization.
Yeah.
And they start creating variations of races. I have met many hybrids on this planet, some who have up to 5 races. One woman I knew's father worked in the military. She was a petri dish of races that they were in contact with, and that they put this DNA into the embryo when it was in the mother. The mother never knew, by the way, only the father, who was in the military. And anyway, she had a little reptilian, she had a bunch of other races and human, and she was the most benevolent being that I knew. She has since passed on. I went to visit her before she passed on, and she said, I have to go. I have to just go be back on the ship. I can't be here anymore. And but she did have unique things about her. Her eyes were different. Her skin was a little different in textures. Her fingers were different, and things of that nature. Other races create them to become negative components, to work for them as armies or this or that, and they learn how to give just enough to keep them docile and under their control.
Can I interject there? Would you say that like in our 3D world, the 3D world is to experience being a human being, you need polarities: good, bad, ugly, pretty, evil, non-evil. So do you think that even though they're consciously aware other beings, these beings, ET we'll call them, no matter what, do you think they still experience some form of polarity then? If there is malevolent and benevolent, and then they must still experience. I'm just asking a question.
Yes, they absolutely do, but the fully conscious beings still experience polarity, but they have the tools to deal with it. That's the difference. Now,
we are here. Tools like we use, they've got their brilliant.
You see, they're just more well equipped in their spiritual makeup to handle those things. Like I'll just take a simple thing. So up there, you're living for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, right? Do you think you're going to be with the same mate for all those years?
I would bloody hope not.
No, it's just not in the makeup. So as they explained it to me, and this of course is based on the individuals, right? Is that you will have many soulmates, and whether you are gay, straight, bi, whatever, right? That you want. that you could, if you're in a relationship, let's say if a man is in a relationship with a man and in a relationship with a woman, and then another soulmate comes in and he wants to have a relationship with her, he would discuss it with his other mates and say, you know, I would like to explore this. You know, really, you don't want somebody under your roof like all the time. So it's kind of good. It's like, you know, I look at it like this. You go, sure, go be with them for a while. And when it's meant for us to be together again, we will. But they're more loving and caring because they believe in the beauty of exploring what the soul wants. And they would want their mate to have that, even though they might feel a little sad about it, but they can talk it out, and then that mate could come back and forth, or what, you know, they just work it out.
Okay, Craig, book my ticket. Book my ticket, please. I'm off.
You're on. I know.
Book my ticket. I'm on my speedboat. Get me out.
Well, and you know what's interesting too is like the Lemurians, right, who live in Telos. They, for instance, will, as they're growing up, they will take on up to 15 different mates. It doesn't mean all at the same time. Some could be like we date other people, but they would know, and that they could have sexual relations and learn about love and things as they're growing up. But since they live a long lifetime, you know, you're really considered an infant until you hit about 70, right? And then when you reach a certain age and you feel that you want to bond with your mate that you feel is it, then they will do a ceremony, and they will be bonded for life. They will be with no one else. And that is the only time then that they will have children. They will never have children with the ones earlier in their life as well. So
that's very similar to human belief. It's sort of not dissimilar to the human belief system on relationships. I mean, now we do live in a freer time. We're not controlled by religion. Was not in the West anyway. Other countries, I can't speak for them. But you can have multiple partners and do whatever. But still, there is, even if you're someone that, you know, enjoys having multiple different partners, when you're ready to maybe have a child or to commit, it's going to be that special one you're going to have the child with. Does that?
Right. Yes.
So I can see it's not dissimilar. It's more. We have this homosexuality. We have judgment. A lot
of judgment. That's right.
Just judgment. Okay. Right. We've got ET. Thank you. Now here comes. We're now gone down the rabbit hole. We've had coffee. We did a bit of camping. Now we're going for a stroll. We're going deeper and deeper, and it's going to get weirder and weirder. No pressure.
Not for me.
I know it's not. I'm loving this podcast. I am. I'm like, oh God, yes, this is it. I told you, it's like me and you are like two neutrons in the CERN collider, and we're gonna. I knew it.
That's it.
Yes, exactly. Right. So the next door, we're going to open the next door down the rabbit hole. How are we connected? Now, there's a couple of scenarios going. Like, I have become aware, if from the juxtaposition, if speaking from the Homo sapien who's having the experience, I'm consciously aware there is a DNA connection from that.
Right.
So I'm not talking, consciousness, truth. I'm just coming, a Homo sapien that is aware there's a DNA connection, okay? And it's that, if you can, how we're connected through that concept. Could you speak upon?
Well, an orb just flew by, of course.
I know.
Another one in front of you and one right behind you.
You're doing it to distract you.
I love it. I love seeing them.
You're not
Well,
going to worry then if a grey appears, are you? Because some
no,
they
no,
do.
not at all. Well, see, I think the DNA is part of the soul group,
Okay.
right?
All
And the soul group is that DNA. And it's interesting because once you've done it and you're like on one of the websites or whatever, you see you have all these distant cousins, you have all these people you've never heard of, um, anything of that nature. My mother passed in 1998, and I had seen that her mother had started a genealogy thing. And so before my mother passed, I talked to her a lot about her family. I labeled all her pictures. About who all these people were that I didn't know,
Mhm.
and learning about them. And then I found my mother's family up in Washington and Yakima,
Mhm.
and they were having a family get together reunion with 300 relatives. So me and two of my mom's sisters and some cousins went up, and we saw it. And it's interesting because you sort of connect, and when you start learning about people and seeing who they were and what they did, especially doing genealogy, it's really beautiful. And here's the kicker, right?
I'm ready.
Is that I believe that we are all connected. When I was 12 years old, my mother said, um, your father is your stepfather, and you have a biological father. And she said, I just know his name. She didn't have that much info. I never looked. And from that moment on, I never looked at my stepfather as nothing but my father. He's been gone for quite some time.
Mhm.
And but I was never able to find my biological father at all. All I had was his name. So 2019, I get hired to write the ET Extraterrestrial Species Almanac, right?
Yeah.
And I get a phone call from a genealogist who tells me she's related to me through my mother's father, and she
Wow.
was looking for information. So I gave her the information, and we were just chatting. And I said, could you find my biological father? She goes, oh, yeah, I can find anybody. And I had done my DNA to find out exactly what I was, because all I knew is that he was Austrian German.
Yeah.
That's all I knew on his side. I didn't know all the other little things, and I wanted to know that as well.
Mhm.
So she found him, and he had passed away in 2006.
Mhm.
And so she said, this is where he's buried. I immediately went down to the cemetery, I went to the front desk, and I said, do you have a name of anybody that called when Fred Vero passed away? And they said, as a matter of fact, we do. And they didn't have a contact number, but they gave me the man's name, a different last name. Came home, looked him up. Of course, he lived right around the corner from me, right? So I wrote him a letter,
Yeah.
explained who I was, and if he knew anybody in his family, if he could pass along the letter, and I put a picture of myself in it. 2 days later, I got a phone call from this man's son, who said, my dad got your letter. And I said, was your dad friends with him? And he goes, no, it's actually his half brother.
Wow.
And I said, oh, so you're my cousin? And he goes, yeah, I guess I am. And he said, normally, one would probably throw something like this away, but he said, you are a dead ringer for my uncle.
Wow.
And so I said, well, I did find him through DNA,
Yeah.
right? So I went and met them for a long 3-hour dinner. And I said, just tell me everything about him. I just want to know as much as possible. Bring me pictures. I don't even know what he looks like, right? So an hour into the dinner, my uncle looks at me and he says, so So my older brother wanted to be in the Air Guard, and he was underage, and he begged our mother to let him go in. And so she signed a piece of paper. And when he turned 18, they put him in the Air Force. And then he said, oh, by the way, he worked in Project Blue Book.
Oh, bloody hell. I mean, that's, oh my God. Well, there you go.
Can you believe that? Right. So, and then it even goes further, because here he works for Project Blue Book, which studied UFOs, that started in 1952, was decommissioned in January 1970, and it investigated over 11,000 sightings. And here I'm writing a book for MUFON, which is the UF-based nonprofit comprised of civilian volunteers who study reported UFO sightings, right? So
that's got to be in the DNA, love, hasn't
it? It's in the DNA. So I said, well, and he said, so so eventually he realized he wasn't going to have the military career that he wanted. He had achieved as much as he felt he could do. And he came back to Los Angeles. And then he said, then he began working at Warner Brothers, and he ultimately became the head of construction for film and television shows.
Oh, wow.
And then he went on many years later to start his own scenic shop, and he did the Hollywood Bowl. He sometimes just built sets for, or he designed and built sets for Michael Jackson, Elton John, Alice Cooper, Neil Diamond. So I'm like, this is in the DNA, because I've been in the film business since I was 15, and I do this because I am totally engrossed and love this subject matter, right?
That, if the transference of that, so we've gone down the Homo sapiens sapien DNA, how it goes,
right?
Our connection with ET, how we're connected, from my truth, my understanding, they are in our DNA as well.
Yes, of course.
Same for the audience. It's the same connection as Craig's just described, finding out a father he never knew. I mean, they've mirrored each other. It's got to be in the, as we say, in the DNA.
It is.
So with the connection to them, especially through these experiences, and this connection on this unconditional love, or whatever you want to call it, it has to be another part of our DNA. Does that make sense to you? What I'm trying to?
It absolutely is. And I mean, we are really, if you think about it, if you say to yourself, where did my soul come from?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think you just arrived and that's it, and you die and that's it? I mean, what is the purpose in that? So really, you could have been from other star systems. You could have been from all different other kinds of places. You can recall those memories if you really work on yourself and elevate your consciousness and activate your cellular memory, like I have over the years, to see these things, and they're brought forth and then put into the conscious makeup of this being that I'm having, that I'm playing right now.
Absolutely.
So, and other people who are multiple hybrids, they could have either have had that injected into the embryo by the extraterrestrials themselves, because they were a starseed and needed to advance in consciousness a lot quicker, right? In this reality. DNA can also be transformed by music, sound, tones. As well.
Yes, I'm
tones. Yes, and sometimes it can be done energetically with a DNA overlay in the body that advanced ET races know how to do as well. And so there's many different types of things, but what's really interesting is all the hybrids know exactly where they're from. They know that connection, and they know everything that goes on. I mean, I've met well, and interviewing people for the book, Octurian hybrids, Clarion, Mantis hybrids, reptilian, all those kinds of things. And by the way, reptilians and humans, people are always like freaked out, you know, reptilians bad, reptilians bad. You have to remember that you can never judge the race, you have to judge the individual. Just like in humanity with humans, there are good and bad and neutral. In reptilian, there are good and bad and neutral. So never lop them into one category.
I absolutely agree. I want to get back how we're connected with, especially now to touch on, we're so deep down the rabbit hole. We've gone to like a cave. We've got all this beautiful water, stalagmites and stalactites, and we're chilling there. I'm actually on the vodka by now. I don't know what you drink, but I'm on the vodka. Forget the coffee. It's going to get weirder. Going to the this connection with the hybrids, you really put that, so it had such clarity. The way you described that is, it's a bit, I'm going to use an analogy to back up my statement, if I can remember what I'm going to say, because it's happening to me now. Something happening to me. No one shuts Gloria up. Anyway,
I know, right?
You know, it's like, you remember back in the day when humans were like the most judgmental, whatever Trevors. And if you, an example, when my family, one of their traits was they were like, especially my father's family, was a Ku Klux Klan, okay? So it was non-acceptable to marry or have a black partner, okay?
Right.
So it's a judgment thing, and it was a no. I mean, really, it was a no. It was a mortal sin. You were going to burn in hellfire for it, and all the, you know, the rest they tell you.
Right.
Anyway, by the way, I did. I went on and I married a black man. So there you go. They're doing it again. When we look at the hybrids now people say, well, oh, it can't be true or whatever. I'm saying, well, back in the day, it couldn't be true that you could, it wouldn't be in your reality to have sexual relations with a black person and have children from the black person, which I had 6 of them, okay?
Right.
My beautiful, beautiful cappuccinos. I love them to bits. It's gorgeous. But it wasn't like, no, it can't happen. Don't even think about it. It was like that back in the day, because I'm old. Now, when we talk of hybrids now, the resistance that I found that's coming up, which I think needs to be addressed, and this topic needs to be discussed more, is no, 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 no. It's the same reaction as when I married at 17 and a half. However, if you look at the human race, and even if you look at our ancestors and our the civilizations before us, brain fog coming in, you can see someone was tweaking something along the way. And the word we use is hybrid. Okay, maybe you don't like the word. But for me, I'm saying, well, it was around about 200,000 years ago. What we call the Homo sapiens sapien just appeared. Hello, we're here. It was a jump, and there's no connection. You know, you can go Lucy in the desert, but there isn't. That even your history, even the history that's most probably a lot of it is, you know, disinformation. Hybridization had to have occurred. If you go to the religious scripture, it occurred, yeah, with the beings that come down and mated with them. If you go back to, you know, I don't know, Sumerians, go all the way back, there's always someone tweaking the beings.
The DNA, yeah.
Always the DNA.
Sure. Yeah.
So now I just put that out there. Please go and research. There's some, you know, wonderful sites out there. You can get all this information. This is truth. It's out there. So the hybridization, I'm going to go in, I'm going to say something now because it's recently sort of come into my understanding that we aren't even, not the analogy that this is alive. Forget that bit. We're not in consciousness. We're Homo sapiens sapien. We are already hybrids. We are already the hybridization of multiple civilizations prior to this experience. How does that resonate with you?
Absolutely. Just like I tell people, if you go to MyHeritage or 23andMe and you find out your heritage here, one day there will be a site that will tell you where your extraterrestrial DNA came
I'm
from.
on it.
I am not kidding you. That will happen.
That's brilliant.
That will definitely happen. And it really, if you go back, the Egypt, for instance, back in there in Atlantis, it was primarily the Syrians who came and started that culture, and they were brown. So they were various shades of brown, and some had light hair, mostly dark hair. And then when Atlantis fell, it went into Egypt, and that's where we have all that. Now, come on, look at Pharaoh Akhenaten.
Oh my God, I painted him numerous times. Do you know what? Before you go on, don't lose that. Don't let him lose that, guys, please. I was thinking, and it was in my head, Akhenaten, Egypt, the picture you did. Mention where you went. You know you're from, and then you went and said that.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah.
I had painted.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at him and his body and his head and his shape, it's a very elongated thing. So was he someone who just came here? Or was he born here? I don't know what his lineage is, or if it talks about who his parents were or anything of that nature. But you know, they're like little things that you just sort of stop and think about, because history usually was recorded many years down the road as hearsay of many generations past. So we're not sure if things got recorded correctly or what have you. So I mean, I definitely truly believe that. And just like all of the ways that I talked about how the DNA alteration is here, it would have happened the same way back in the day as well, to keep giving humanity an upgrade to get to the fully conscious part.
Absolutely. So when you come from, you know, that truth or that concept, then it's no big deal with the hybrid children now from the experiences that have been abducted, and there's the hybrid children are like the next evolution of consciousness. I personally don't have an issue with it, so I'm just saying, but still it needs to be brought into a conversation. And, you know, maybe next time we have a conversation, we could define it even better, because it's finding the words to express something that's never really truly expressed the correct way. Because with the interactions, and you must know this, with these beings, it's not words. It comes in and you're trying to process it and formulate it and find the best way. And you know, normally brain fog will come into me because I go, and I don't know how to say that. I mean, it's, you know, but I think the hybridization of and I'm going to add another one here. Hold on, I'm going to add another one here. Let's go deeper down the rabbit hole. I want to know what you think about this truth. One of my truths is I have experienced beings walking in the physical earth that look quite human, but they're not. So they're here for a while. Okay, I've just outed myself. Okay, blame Craig and what was going on. What do you think about? Have you become aware of that?
I've been aware of it for a long time. There are many races that come here. For instance, I believe it's the Clermer race that's in here. when they like to become a commander,
Yeah.
right, for the sector of Earth and
Yeah.
this whole section of the galaxy, they have to live on Earth, pick a place on Earth,
Yeah.
and be there for a couple of years and work in a job and get to know the people of Earth and befriend those people.
Mm-hmm.
And usually the people will be so attracted to them because they have so much light,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And sometimes if it is a star seed, they will recognize that star seed, and sometimes they will share who they are
Yeah.
also with that person. So there are many humans
Yeah.
that are walking around that are from all different places,
Absolutely.
and that they're here for many different reasons. Some are just learning, some are observing, some are here because their energy is helping to raise the planet, and that's how they look at it. Some come on expeditions, like the Umo. They're a very tall human race. And they came about 2 or 3 times over time. And the last time, what they did is they decided a different tact. They would write letters to scientists, the brightest minds on the planet, and give them information on how to fix pollution, on how to fix the ozone layer, on how to do certain things like that. So all the races do these different types of jobs for humanity in secret. There are many that I hear that actually work in government jobs.
Yeah.
There are many that are there, not that they're being spies or anything like that, but they're there and they're learning how the inner workings and things like that works, because it will help to assist them when this planet finally shifts over and things need to
No, I hear
therefore go into a smooth transition. And when this planet's opened up to universal society again.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? It's been closed off for so long that everyone doesn't even know what that's like. So it's a gradual process, and a lot of hybrids work for the government as well, because they're super smart. They're super smart.
I'm in agreement with all of that. I would say to the audience, everyone's different. The way I recognize them, and I have recognized them, is I recognize energy. It's the energy. It's the energy first.
Yes, right. That's right.
I know when someone's come into the energy, or they've become aware of me, for example. It's a bit like mediumship, I suppose, really, and with spirit world. And then, but then if you tend to look at them, they are the most gorgeous, I mean, they're just emanating. It's just, you can just fall in love with them. You don't even know them, but it's an energy. So, and another way, because I really would promote that when you go out, step outside the box, open your awareness when you go out in the world. Instead of looking at the individuals or just a tree or just this, look in the spaces out there. Just open have a panoramic view, and don't just tunnel vision to one thing. Open up, and you will pick up these energies. And it's just, you may just get a glimpse at first, but they are out there. And when you glimpse them, and I've been fortunate enough, it's like this doesn't even say it, but it's unconditional love is the only way I can say it.
That's right. Yes.
Boom. Yeah. And that's not even it. I'm sorry, but that's the only words I can find.
Right.
So I would say, expand your vision. Look at the spaces between even the cars. Look at the spaces between the people, the houses, anything, and just chill. And my God, they're out there. And I must admit, I was a bit shocked at first. But it won't happen till you do, we said before, to do the work on yourself, to expand your awareness, to realize you are more than just the limited being that you think you are.
That's right.
You are greater. So anyway, I digress slightly. Right. Now we're coming to door number 7. We've got 2 doors left.
Okay.
As we talked before the podcast, is they've always been here, and we've stated it in this podcast. But I'm going to ask you a question, Craig. Why are they here now? I'm going to add a caveat to that is most of us have realized that there's the contact, increasing contact in sightings, in all the things that are going on has, and I keep using the word, it's any word I can describe it the way I want to, is exponentially. So there's more activity now with these beings, yeah, and
Yes.
the paranormal than the whole of our whatever we can recall recorded interaction. From your truth, what do you think's going on right now on a Wednesday, Zoom to Zoom, what we're all experiencing now in this timeline?
Well, as time goes on, the Starseed program becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So it has already moved beyond into the light sector, where it will now at a certain point expand and grow. It cannot digress from here, even though we know we're having all these problems on the planet. This is just the precursor to where everything usually goes into chaos,
Yeah.
And then it settles back down because people realize after that that there has to be a better way, and everybody starts moving into that, into that realm of thought. So that is why there is more and more people are more open, because people are talking about it more. There's more books, there's more things. There is before, people, when I talked about this stuff in the 80s, they were not, some weren't ready, some were ready, but all those people back then, now are like, God, it's so weird, I think like you now. So
I know, it's really, you just got to go back a few decades. I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And I was called some of the worst things. I was a demon, I was a devil, I was a harlot.
Oh my God.
I had all of that. But now I have people contacting me. Oh, Gloria, yeah, it's just not, which is beautiful that we can have these conversations.
Right.
This is what it's about, because we keep manifesting. Okay.
That's right.
We've got to that one now. The last door, okay, when I say, why are they interested in us? I obviously have my truth, and everyone has their own truth, and I'm not going to preempt it with my truth first. I've heard many interpretations. Why are they interested in us? As I said, I have my truth. What's your truth? Why do you think that you have these experiences, you, Craig? I'm not going to say your surname because I'm not Italian, okay? I'm not going there. You're just Craig, all right? You're Craig.
That's it.
Craig C, that'll do me. That's as far as I'm going. Why are they so interested and have been so interested in you, Craig, for this time? Why? What's your view on your personal connection? Why are they interested in you, and then collectively the us?
Well, interestingly enough, as I told you before, I up until the age of 26, I was just living a life. I went to work, I went out on the weekends, I had fun, that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, at age 26, I began to have dreams with 3 universal master teachers, right? Two looked alike. They had very elongated heads. They were about 8 feet tall. And one was with a humanoid woman with blonde hair, right? And so every night they would visit me in my dreams, and I would then wake up and I go, wow, they were really beautiful. And I felt this love. I go back to sleep, wouldn't think about them again until the next night. And so I had this experience for 2 months. Then in the second month, I would wake up in my soul in the realm that they were at. And I would say, oh my God, I'm really here. This is real. These aren't dreams. And I would still feel this love from them. And then that went on for 2 months. And then in the last 2 months, I would be in the dream. I'd wake up in the dream, or I call it lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
And then I would wake up in my bed, and they would be standing in their astral forms at the bottom of my bed, just emanating this love. And eventually, one of the teachers explained to me that you don't need to be in your physical body for experience. The soul body can travel anywhere and have an experience. So it doesn't differentiate between, the physical, mental, or spiritual bodies. So in astral traveling and things like that. So I became aware of that. And then at the graduation of 6 months, they fed this golden white light into my body, and it ballooned into every fiber in my being. If you can imagine it, permeating every cell, waking every cell of consciousness up. And then I began to see the world in a different light. I saw the beauty behind creation. I could read a person's soul history. I could see what they've been through. And I literally sobbed every single day for 8 months, anywhere from 8 to 12 times a day. Like, I'm not talking about crying, sobbing, because it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful, right? So then, then they ignited my light body so I could astral travel. So I started astral traveling to other worlds and seeing different things and bringing back information. I could get downloads as well. And
so they were really interested in you.
They were, and I wasn't really quite sure why, but at the end of 2 years of going through this amazing, like, I went from 0 to 100 in 2 years.
Wow.
Like being totally asleep and then being awake.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I literally had written a 400-page book about all these experiences. I went to Mount Shasta. I had some incredible experiences there. I came home, and the master teacher said to me, what would you say if I told you wrote that book for yourself?
Wow.
And I said, then I've learned a lot about myself. And he said, now what I want you to do is I want you to sit down and I want you to write. And I don't want you to stop. I don't want you to edit. I want you to keep going on and on and on until nothing else comes out.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what channeling was back then. I didn't know what any of those kinds of things were. I did know that there were 3 portals in my 1-bedroom apartment back then, one at the foot of my bed, one in my hallway, and one in my living room. I didn't have an office, so I would write at my kitchen table. And then and they would wake me up at 3 a.m. every morning to write. And I would start to see all the energy forms come down. They would then stand around me, and my body would ring with chills for 15 minutes because their energy was so high. And that's how the process began. And it became like I was reading a book and not writing a book. And that's where the Autobiography of an Extraterrestrial Saga began. So it'll be 7 books in total. I'm working on the sequels now, and that type of thing. And so over the years, I just kept working on myself, having experiences and learning and connecting to all these different beings and things of that nature. And once you sort of get on this universal mind internet, it's really quite fantastical. Now, mind you, it doesn't happen every day, and you don't want it to happen every day, because after a while you're like, I get to the point where I go, okay, enough ET stuff. I got to just have my little human life here. I need to have that right now. So
I love your terminology. I like to call it the universal network. I'm going to log on to the network. I'm just logging on, you know. Normally before I'm going to do a show or podcast, or I go to one of my groups, I log on because I don't want to think about what I'm going to say. Just, I log on, just let it go, You're talking about the channeling, how that works for you. Obviously, the more that your consciousness expands and connects, we call it channeling. It just comes out the mouth, or my artwork is obviously channeling. It's channeled art.
Yes, right.
However, the channeling really is gone now. It's just like it's us. So
it becomes a part of you after a point. After a
point,
it's no more like that.
It just becomes you, and you are the being doing it. So it's a beautiful. The beauty of that is. So you would have the beauty of human development from baby all the way through, blah, blah. But when you can actually start to observe the expansion, and let's use the word development of consciousness, and as the polarities come in as one, and you function as one, a bit like some of the civilizations that are different to us, they come from the one, they're fully aware who they are, but they're still having their experience and, their little polarities here or relationships. You can just see this coming together. And I think it's one of the most, I wouldn't have said this 20 years ago, but it's the best time to be a human being is now, I would say.
Is now, because it really is there. And like what you were just saying, when you get to a certain point, you are automatically now connected to the cosmic mind and the cosmic heart. So it's no more where you're feeling that you're channeling something, right? That it, like in the beginning, I don't even know what it was. I just did it, and it just came out, and it just came out. And years later, I learned what channeling was. I think when I watched Shirley MacLaine's Out on a Limb. Right, and then she had Kevin Ryerson, the channeler that she had went to. So
I too, I saw the channeling of the lady who did Seth, and I remember watching it, going, "Oh no!" I remember doing. Oh, judgment was there back in
right.
Oh no, my God! Oh no! I was like this, and look what happened to me. Hey, but that is, I can laugh now. And so when I experience others that say such things, I have a little internal giggle. I go, one day you're gonna know. You're gonna know. It's just gonna. One day it's gonna go like that. But now from channeling was the next stage, and it seems this stage now is just the one. Just
the one, because you're blended, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely blended. That's right.
I have had I knew I would. I've had the most profound, wonderful experience down the rabbit hole with you, Craig.
Oh, me too. Thank you so much for having me on. We'll do it again.
Oh, we will do it again. And we can really go off somewhere that no one's ever been before. Okay.
There you go.
So, before I close the podcast, I'd like to thank you for everyone who's going to watch this. Once again, I'm doing the advertising for my autocue. So you will find this podcast on Forbidden Knowledge News Network, where there are amazing podcasts that are very inspiring, like this one, especially with Craig on. Other podcasts are Forbidden Knowledge News, Beyond Classified, Day Zero, Dawson Files, Raised by Giants, and Inception. And on that note, it's thanks for the conversation, Craig. Bye, everybody. See you on the next podcast.